lot going around.
Not only that one, from the banking mess, from the other mess in the state, clearly.
Raymond, you're pulling on some of my strings this morning. I'm feeling very, very strongly about some of these subjects. But let's start with the front page, shall we?
Yes, the Business and Financial Times is reporting this morning failure of 7 banks to cost taxpayers 8 billion Ghana cedis.
8 billion.
8 billion, yes. And well, there's more on that. 5.7 billion bond, which is going to be used to save these banks and assisting whatever is left of them, will not affect IMF assessment. This according to the Bank of Ghana. I see that some reprieve, I mean, when the white man is looking at our things, it will be fine. Anyway,
but we'll still pay for it. That's the bottom line. Okay.
Will not affect external assessment, but internal assessment will affect us.
Yeah.
Anyway, smuggling at inland borders killing local rice industry. That's also on the front page of the BNFT.
The Ghanaian Observer, NDC elders abandon John Mahama, roots for Alabi for election 2020, voting for change in 2016 saved Ghana's banking sector. That's according to Gabi Asare Otredako. Said John rubbishes Galamsey claims, welcomes probe into allegations. In a party warns Margaret Derry, former beauty queens, and Parliament grills Supreme Court judges on August the 20th.
The Herald is reporting this morning Mustafa Ahmed disrespects Oforiatta and Professor Ade over free SHS rescue plan, and Akufo-Addo and family sacrifice energy minister, but excuse presidential secretary Asante Bediatu in Ameri scandal. There's a story you should be interested in too. Government terminates prosecution witness contract at Cocoa Board. So the person appeared for Stephen Opunu and Co in court. The government said, clearly. Seek he. Is that not how they say it?
Seek who?
No.
He who comes.
No. There's an expression that says that show you today who you serve.
Choose you this day
whom
you will
I was not
serve.
quoting directly. It's paraphrasing.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
The Daily Statesman.
Something from you don't want us to say it. Okay. Elima, let's go.
The Daily Statesman. Government will get every child educated. That's according to Mustafa Hamid. Mahama backbin Alabi Sly and Spear in deadly NDC flag bearer combat December 7th as Victor Beho spikes Mahama.
The Daily Guide is reporting this morning the Bank of Ghana is exposing Unibank, and this one is big. It says Mahama is a liar. Failure. And that's according to Victor Beho, former ambassador, distinguished diplomat, but he's talking tough. We'll tell you more details about that. And Northern Chiefs salutes Nana. It's on the front page of the Daily Guide too.
The Chronicle, stowaway, now lucrative enterprise. Professor Abraham honored by police band. Upsurge of local bitters is killing the Pito business. And approval of DCE's pure business. Taking money from the nominee is normal because the entire process is business and nobody should do business and lose. That's from an assembly member.
The monocratization of the Ghanaian political scene at the local level.
And the Pito business.
This is
it's not just at the local. Don't you remember Doa Jahu when he was Speaker of Parliament?
Yes, I'm saying that this is decentralization of the money taking adventure. Now, the New Weekend Crusading Guide is reporting this morning. Strike is in court against Yendi Hospital over the fate of some 91 employees. And there's also a story that's talking about man of God is asking an us, investigate the church, please. So this request has been given to investigative journalist or investigator Anas Aremi Anas.
The Finder, Ghana risks not achieving SDG 3. That's according to the Minister of Health. 17 arrested in oil smuggling scheme, and the NDC flag bearer elections also trending on the front page of the Finder.
The Daily Graphic is reporting this month bank directors face IOCO, BOG to prosecute officials of collapsed institutions. There's a story on the back page too. Trade Ministry engages stakeholders to sanitize retail trade sector. And the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has assured that there will be a nationwide bumper this year. Bumper harvest. Maize topped the list.
Okay.
And
more
finally,
cocoa for us to drink.
Finally, from me, the Ghanaian Times, don't politicize SHS double track system. That's according to Dr. Hamid, who's information minister. Will deal with unprofessional police. That's from the IGP. 17 busted in a Flower Tema. Clamp down on fuel smuggling. And on the back page, private sector participation in ECG to take off in February 2019.
Raymond, let's begin with the biggest story from yesterday, shall we?
So, of course, and what we are understanding from what is happening is that, in the last few months, we know 7 different banks have gone under.
Yeah.
We are talking about first the UT and Capital banks, and this was some 2.2 billion that it was involved. So government had to dole out these amount of money to settle the liabilities of the UT and Capital Bank. We also do know that government is actually putting out some 5.76 billion of you and I money to save or settle the liabilities that actually is involved in the recent 5 other banks that have gone under.
So after we pay the 2.2 billion,
yes,
we are paying the 5.76 billion.
Yes, and
to
all of
cover
this
the
together,
liabilities.
yes, is 8 billion Ghana cedis.
8 billion.
Yes, and we issue bonds to deal with this one. We issue the first, we call it the GCB bond. I'm sure this second bond will be called the 5 banks bond.
Or the consolidated bank bond.
Yes.
You know the issue I have when I hear this figure. I'm going to read a section of the governor's statement yesterday.
Yeah.
It says shareholders, related and connected parties had taken amounts totaling 3.7 billion Ghana cedis, which were neither granted through the normal credit delivery process nor reported as part of the bank's loan portfolio. In addition, amounts totaling 1.6 billion Ghana cedis had been granted to shareholders, related and connected parties in the form of loans and advances without due processes and in breach of the relevant provisions of Act 930. Altogether, shareholders, related and connected parties of Unibank had taken out an amount of 5.3 billion Ghana cedis from the bank, constituting 75% of total assets of the bank. Similar is what happened with Royal Bank. So I like the way the separation was made. With 3.7 billion Ghana cedis, we don't know if they were loans, we don't know why they were taken out. All we know is that they were taken out.
And the most unconscionable part is that some of them was not even reported.
That's the 3.7 billion.
Yes.
At least with the 1.6 billion, they were taken as loans, but to the same shareholders and connected parties. So basically, what the shareholders are the owners.
Yeah.
So the owners set up the bank. People bring their savings, their life savings. Some of them, what they will earn for the rest of their life, what they will live on in years to come, and then they give it to themselves. I don't know how the taking out is interpreted beyond this. We've even seen headlines that said that people took the money to set up estates and all of that. You see, the point is that when I give you my money, when I work and I give you my money, at least keep it for me and let me come back. We know that banks invest our savings and all of that, but make it available for us when we come back.
You see, the worst in all of this is that we know that in the last few years, we've been telling market women, people who do other jobs that we consider not to be in the mainstream, that you are better off in the financial system. So Financial Literacy Week was done for almost a decade to try and push people to go to banks. We've been saying that we need to, in fact, even the vice president has said that we sure should get everybody a bank account in this country because the people who are banking, they are like 30% of the population. All of these efforts was to convince the woman who wake up this morning, sell something small to sustain the family. Now don't put your money under your bed. Go and put it in an account at the bank.
And when they took it to the bank, shareholders, related and connected parties took amounts totaling 3.7 billion Ghana cedis. Okay, so let me go to the altogether part. The shareholders, related and connected parties took out an amount of 5.3 billion Ghana cedis from the bank.
Yeah.
This is money, 3.7 billion of which was taken out without due process.
And it is instructive to know that this is just Unibank.
Listen, Raymond, the seriousness is that in the end we have to use 8 billion Ghana cedis to bail it out. If you put out all the monies we've paid since last year together, 8 billion Ghana cedis. Raymond, can you think of one single government initiative that at a go has cost the nation this much?
No.
That we have to take loans for?
No. Let's be clear. Last year.
Talk to me.
The entire budget of the Education Ministry, which is perhaps our biggest spending area, was the same amount of money.
When we were speaking to the Education Minister a few weeks ago, he told us that government is planning to securitize Get Fund, which means that they're going to take a loan against Get Fund to go and fill the infrastructure gap up to about 1.5 billion, creating space for 650,000 young people to go to school. It is not up to a fourth, a quarter of what we are doing to cover the hole which persons have themselves. I mean, it is disturbing. 5.3 billion that people themselves took out of the bank without even. I mean, have you seen that book that is going around the smartest way to rob a bank?
Yes, of course. Set up your own and deal with it. But the
something has to happen. I mean, something has to be done.
That's what the Bank of Ghana is promising. In this case, they are promising that the directors of these banks will face EOCO, We understand that the Bank of Ghana, even though as of yesterday, was still yet to present all of this documentation, and I'm sure when you spoke to the second deputy governor, she made it clear that maybe she should proceed and do so right away. But it does sound to many that this is business as usual, and that the agency with which some countries and others have done this, that immediately this particular issue comes out, they pick up these people to show that they mean business and this is a serious crisis.
Exactly.
And proceed with prosecution to show to the people that these are things that are done against the state in a way that will protect the ordinary person.
Let me wrap up on this particular point by just painting it in a simple way. We go and put our deposits in the bank.
Yeah.
The bank takes the deposits. According to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, please, this is not Daniel Dazi or Joy FM speaking. This is the governor of the Bank of Ghana saying that they took these deposits without proper due process, and in some cases they took it as loans, gave it to shareholders and people connected to shareholders, and then we don't know where that money is.
And they don't even account for it. So
They
they
didn't
don't
account
tell us
for
that
it.
it was part of their loans.
Exactly. So we don't know what has happened to that money. Now they are come to take our money back. The same
Yeah.
people who put the deposits in the bank, they are come to take our money back to go and cover that hole that they made.
Yeah.
So the question is that what happens to these people? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
First of all, there needs to be a deterrent. There needs to be a way that we can recover that cash. Because that is 8 billion Ghana cedis.
And this should
That
be
is 4 times everything we have spent on free SHS since it began. Because remember, in the first year, we spent 480 million.
Yeah.
In the second year, it is projected 1.2 billion.
Yes.
So everything we have spent on free SHS since it began was about 1.7 billion thereabouts.
Yes.
This is 8 billion at a go.
Indeed, what we're saying as the vacuum for us to even fill our free SHS point, in this case, about 323 million, going for the double track system.
Yes.
The one that we say we even need help from the World Bank and other places to fill in. And the
It's
alternative that we're looking at.
1.5.
Yes.
Even if we were going to add it, it's still 1.8. If you were going to add it to the old free SHS, it's not up to 4 billion. This is more than twice that. I mean, look, something has to give. At least the deterrent and getting the money back there, something has to happen.
And there
because this is
should
serious
be
money.
a way that, according to our fit and proper procedures, people should be publicly named that they should go nowhere near the financial system. Mindful of the experience, because we've known what happened before. Some banks collapsed, subsidiaries of this bank and other institutions popped up as financial institutions again, and they are still taking people's money in this country. That cannot be the way forward. I mean, how does it work? Because you are let to go free, you enjoy your own ways, you only metamorphose into another institution with a different name and proceed to work as a financial expert, whichever title you give yourself in this
So
case.
Raymond, tell us how the bank intends to hold these people responsible.
So they say that there are procedures they have to follow. When they submit their documents to the IOCO or whichever state institution will have to take it, they have to do investigations and proceed with the prosecution. They are in the process of putting together the evidence and other things required. Their primary preoccupation now is what happens to the banks, how the new receiver is taking over, how the new system is actually being rolled out in a way that people can continuously access their money, that's if they want to do so. And this is their primary preoccupation. The prosecution, they leave it to the state institutions that will have to determine the merits in the case that be made against them and also proceed with that. But we know that you have told us clearly that there were breaches of specific laws. At all points in time, look at the reports that they gave us.
yeah.
They state categorically at 930 and the sections that have been breached in this case. If people secure license by false pretense, I want to even pretend that I don't know that if you are smart enough, they will not go through that process and outweigh the banking system. But at least using false pretense, if me, ordinary person, I use false pretense. What was the claim against the Constitution again?
Defrauding by false pretense.
Brilliant. If people use false pretense to conduct business, that is enough for you to start investigating and making sure that we get to the bottom of the matter. No long things about we don't know how this will end up, because the last time we checked, IOCO was still working on UT Capital. Please, that pace is too long. It's been almost a year.
Okay.
We should have action happening immediately so that I can give the people enough confidence in the system and in the people who are managing the system.
Raymond, you know something? Let's move from the subject.
All right.
Let's move from the subject. Any more?
Okay, right. So we're going to talk about government and the traders, the foreigners in retail. So government has mandated a committee to evict foreigners in retail. It's given executive powers to a committee on retail trade to ensure that foreigners engaged in the sector fully comply with the laws governing trade in the country as part of efforts to sanitize the industry. So in May 2018, a 21-member committee chaired by Julius Bogler was inaugurated to enforce Article 27(1)(a) of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Now, this law states that a person who is not a citizen or an enterprise which is not wholly owned by a citizen shall not invest or participate in the sale of goods or services in a market, petty trading or hawking or selling of goods in a stall at any place. But there's been a lot of tension between the committee and the retailers, that's the foreign retailers, with the foreign retailers resisting attempts by the team to insist on the law. So we'll be watching that space. We have a lot of foreigners in our system, and it's also about tightening our immigration laws so that we can avoid
yes,
this.
it's a very, very thorny issue that we have to be keeping our eye on. Raymond, that's explosive statements Mr. Victor Gbeho has made.
So the consummate diplomat has come out of the shell to make sometimes comments that, ordinarily he doesn't make. This is because he is saying that former President Mahama is a failure, and that's the imputation put away by the Daily Guide in this case. The specific statement is that he's asking NDC faithfuls who met at a gathering to rather choose and elect somebody, and this is the exact quote, somebody who is a failure somewhere else should not be the one that they should elect. We know why this is happening, because not long ago, there is some fury within the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana when 94 was supposed to append their signature, including those who thought they were signing attendance lists. Yes. And they penned their signatures to a document seeking to support it. You do recall that regional chairman also went to the former president's house to pledge support at the point in time. Others in the race complained. They also complained that their attempt to do unity works was skewed towards the former president in a way that gives him advantage. And the party at the point also came to say that, we are not the organizers, so you can't blame us for this. But we support initiatives that brings the party together. Now, Victor Gbeho seems to be, perhaps, apart from former President Rawlings, former President Rawlings, who says that the current leader of the NDC ought to be changed. And he's been unequivocal about that. If the party want to improve its fortunes going forward, apart from him, and also some hints dropped by Professor Kosiboche during his lecture that there were major defects in the party running in the run-up to the 2016 election, and that they can't continue in that path. He chaired that particular committee, the committee that sought to find out what happened to the NDC in the 2016 election. Victor Gbeho has very simple words. He says, in terms of track record, in terms of ability to deliver, he believes that Professor Joshua Alabi should be ahead of former President Rawlings, former President Mahama. And this is because the NDC has to go through what he considers rebranding. That he can't present the same thought, and that's why he considers to be somebody who has failed in times past, to be the person leading the party now. Of course, this clearly shows that the lines are drawing out, the factions are becoming clearer, as the NDC yesterday held a press conference preparing for the flag bearer race ahead of this particular 2020 elections.
Another interesting related development to that, General Mosquito has announced he will run again. Yes, he said.
Contrary to the previous claim that we had, we're hearing that he said he will not run again. No. In fact, one of his deputies have come to say that since he will not run again, they are willing to step in.
He announced it yesterday on Ekusi saying Asempa FM that he will be running again. So definitely we're going to be watching this space. Very, very interesting stuff there. Anyway, let's wrap up with those 17 people who have been caught in Aflao.
Yes, they've been caught smuggling petroleum products. So what happened was that they were there was a tip-off, and these 17 people were found transferring fuel from a ship to drums and gallons around the shores of Aflao in the Volta region. So there were 7 drums that were already filled with diesel, but they had 76 empty drums. And then there were 32 filled yellow gallons of diesels and then 20 empty containers. So they were really ready to siphon the fuel from the ships. Apparently, this is something that has been happening a lot around that area. And so the police are asking people around that area to keep an eye on, especially in the middle of the night when these things happen, so that you can tip them off, because a lot of times that's the only way that they can find out what's happening. The NPA is determined to sanitize the industry, and therefore urges the public to continue with their support in the fight against fuel smuggling.
Right, thank you very much, Enimwa. Let's go online. And the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank. In your best interest, Goyle, good energy. Download the Safe Doctor app now from the Google Play. Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care. Now, Ghana's #1 indigenous oil marketing company, Goil, gives you innovation that takes you further. The new Goil Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. These expertly crafted lubricants work excellently with all modern petrol and diesel engines, provide superior cleaning and protection, reduces fuel consumption, prolongs oil change intervals, and enhanced engine performance. New Goil Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Engineering innovation for your vehicle has arrived and is available at all over 330 Goil filling stations. Goil, good energy. Now, the Skills Development Fund invites all micro, small, and medium enterprises across the country to apply for grant supports to improve the capacity of their workforce for enhanced productivity and competitiveness. Public and private training institutions are also invited to apply for support to develop innovative training content for the private sector. The application window is open till 31st August 2018. Enterprises in agribusiness and renewable energy sectors and those owned or managed by women are especially encouraged to apply. To apply, visit www.sdfghana.org. Skills Development Fund, skilling Ghana for sustainable development. Now is the time to own a Zenith Mastercard. Apply for a Zenith Mastercard debit or prepaid card from any Zenith Bank branch nationwide and enjoy two great things: no issuance fee and a chance to receive a gift of prepaid card, with a preloaded amount of the cedi equivalent of $50. Isn't this exciting? Don't be left out. Sign up for your Zenith Mastercard debit or prepaid card today. Offer is available to account and non-account holders. Terms and conditions apply. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. MyJoyOnline.com is where we begin. Boards of consolidated banks failed to deliver. Expert recommends sanctions, and corporate governance expert Marian Bano has been speaking there, asking that they sanction the board members of these failed banks. Charlotte to say removal, bad precedent. John Indebugri, private legal practitioner, former member of parliament for Zebila, speaking there. AdomeOnline.com says appointment of BOG board of directors must be bipartisan. Charles Mensah, financial advisor, speaking there. Good morning to Mr. Charles Mensah. BBC.com has the Zimbabwe election. MSM Mnangagwa declared winner in disputed poll. Very, very tight election there. Mr. Mnangagwa won 50.8% of the votes compared to 44.3% for opposition leader Nelson Chamisa. This is after 10 provinces have been declared. We will be speaking to a Zimbabwean journalist during the show to get more details and insight into this historic African election and also getting the impact and economic analysis of this on the entire continent as well, how it affects you, our listener. Stay with us. This is the Super Morning Show. Let's get the BBC News now, but that comes up after these messages.
This was Kwame's life before Interplast In Green Irrigation System.